At the beginning of the pandemic, I wrote an article on turning an adversity like COVID-19 into a blessing. And there I mainly asked fundamental questions about how we have organized ourselves as a society, the values of our economy, our personal choices, our priorities, which we have all taken for granted. And this pandemic may allow us to question some of the status quo. And with the passing year, I have reflected on the role of citizens and, more importantly, the role of our governments in enabling lives in a democratic setup. I have academic training, like many of us, on the aspects of governance, and yet what we witness unfolding is a stark reminder that we have lost our way many years ago, and it is all catching up with us. How democracy can survive and what it takes for a republic in our current environment of information overload is well put together in the article provided below in the video description as part of the Consilience project. Now follow this project if you are keen on taking action to change your life for the better. In fact, most of us do not quite understand the problem landscape well enough to subsequently initiate changes to our lives. So the Consilience project is a brilliant start to get on the journey of comprehending what's really happening around us. Here I want to highlight a bunch of wrong turns we have taken and we continue to do so. Having said that, we also have the opportunity to take the right turn every time we are at the junction. So in a large democracy like India with diverse views and opinions, having to maintain such a system is a significant feat in itself. Although democracies function at their best in the direct form, with its ability to enforce accountability and transparency, our modern representation democracies typically require a lot more engagement from citizens like ourselves and representatives for it to remain effective. And our ability as citizens to meaningfully engage with the government and or our representatives, and the ability of our governments to remain true to their roles of representing us and delivering the policies which lead to the enhancement of lives for everyone is where the heart of the challenge is. The video has a prescriptive tone. Apologies for that. It is not to scare anyone or take a dig at the government. More importantly, given the current context of our information landscape and governance, I do want to share a checklist of the wrong turns that has helped me identify issues and continues to help redefine my role in a society wherever I am. The first thing is the Mast Hysteria. Plato, one of the earliest thinkers and writers about democracy, who was not a big fan of democracy, refers to the ability to excite, target the emotions of people, and mass mobilize them, incites democracy to the acts of hysteria. Now, the emotional triggers used could be anything dear to you, like religion, gender, history, culture, and so on. It is referred to as the amygdala hijack, where our emotions take over and our rational frontal lobes take a back seat. Now, the hysterical nature of public support defies sound reason and produces fatal inconsistency over time. We are no longer rational to identify clearly what is going on. So I urge you to notice if you bring up emotions that are dear to you in discussing governance in the country, instead of being calm or even discussing it with a rational or a logical mind as to what we require as a society. Also note the emotional hijack is all around us today. The social media platforms, the print media, the broadcast news, which we engage on a day-to-day basis for information, are employing these mechanisms to keep us hooked on to the news or stories that excite us emotionally. Yes, there is a place for emotions and recognizing what is going on, but be very wary of the data you are consuming on the digital platforms, even the WhatsApp groups, as they are optimizing for the time you spend on their platforms. The second wrong turn is about narratives. Now, be sensitive to the narratives that are floating around. If there are narratives around border security, China, or Pakistan, question this information you're reading. Any big conspiracies relating to the government, question it. Unfortunately, all data today is subject to manipulation and is sensationalized these days. So keep your eyes and ears open to the situation where you're living and what people are experiencing on the ground. Be wary of the data online or on the news. The independent press, which is a pillar for any working democracy, is no longer able to deliver that function. Many are corrupted by these narratives and seeking to again optimize the time we spend engaging on these platforms by weaving narratives that instill fear, even patriotism, defying logic, science, and even common sense. The third one is loyalty. So loyalty to any government, party, ideals, belief is never beneficial as it enters in the way of the truth. Turning a blind eye to the truth to keep up our loyalty will jeopardize what we value the most in our lives. Indian politics or governance is not about the BJP, the Congress, or leaders like Modi. It is about us, the people, and what the government elected by us can deliver as representatives. Now, the real changes that we all value are in regard to our health, our education, alleviating poverty, environment sustainability, bridging the socio and the economic inequalities by holding up our autonomy and sovereignty of all individuals. So assess the government on these values and ascertain what is happening. The next one is, where is our money going? Now, where is our tax money going? And if we are not paying taxes, what is the government doing to support our families and us to live a quality life? We don't seem to be asking these questions. We have been sold on the idea that erecting a temple, statues will restore our pride or ideas of unity. Now, the money expended for the election rallies, for example, why do we assume we must spend large amounts of money for campaigns? Well, it is the public money that needs to be used wisely, and we should be utilizing it to develop the key infrastructures we lack. So how can we overlook this fact and justify employing the money for anything else? Now, the policies we implement to spend our money have pros and cons, and it is something we should rationally think about it. But if the money is being squandered to make leaders or a party popular, then it is of no use. So where do the priorities lie? It is for us to demand better services, and let's not be swayed by these distractions. The next one is about pride and shame. I've heard this numerous times that India is presently on the world stage because of the efforts of the current government. I'm not sure what to make of this. We are a land of ancient civilization before India was India, and our contribution to the world, to humanity, is immeasurable. And yet our ego is so incredibly fragile that if we are criticized for handling COVID, we do not have the same ability to take ownerships for the lives lost. Why are we running away from feedback? when the decisions we make impact millions of lives. So any government that does not take responsibility, feedback, and accountability, we should be wary of it. And it applies to us individuals as well, because we all have blind spots, and if we assume we are always right, then we are up for many problems. There is no shame in accepting our faults. In fact, that is the only way we can hope to learn. So if we do not acknowledge our mistakes, how are we to ever become better at what we do? The next one is the power of authority or an individual. Now, be it our spiritual gurus, leaders, we tend to place them on an altar and then we fight in their name. And why are we constantly seeking people to elevate to the godly positions? Be it our celebrities, our spiritual gurus, politicians. I always wondered this. Why is it that we need saving or upliftment? Why do we underestimate ourselves and our own strength and overestimate people in positions to know everything? I think it is time to come down to earth and be on a common ground with everyone. And it is time for us to consider the fact that no one is special as we make it out to be. Everyone we know, we worship, do not know everything, and all of us have something to offer, and we can all learn from each other. So we don't need putting anyone on top or below, but recognize the humanity we all share, which makes us equal. No one is beyond responsibility. So let's stay true to this fact at all times. Hold people responsible and accountable. Let's not be brainwashed by authority. The next one is obsession over image instead of actions. Now, the path of right action will lead us where we need to be. Our actions speak louder than words. The images or perceptions any government, an institution, or individuals create is temporary, that cannot hold water under all situations. Now, the words we declare are no assurance unless we see them in action. So if we are obsessed with appearance, the image of our country, or any other factors that stop us from asking difficult questions about the state of governance since independence, I encourage you to go there and ask those questions and find out. Let us not be fooled by perceptions or images, because an image is like a cloak at best to take us far, far away from reality, but we invariably have to face the reality one day. The next one is the popularity versus knowledge. Plato, for all the sound reasons, forewarned us that expertise is the critical attribute of a leader. But a democracy can seldom bring forward such characters, as the populace would elect popular spinsters who are effective in manipulating popular opinion. Now, this obsession with popularity is a dark path because it is just a show. And remember, our lives, our future generations depend on sound decisions and actions. But if we have decided all we need is entertainment and whoever puts a good show gets our votes, then we are doomed. Now, does the government engage with citizens with credible and reliable information? Seek signs of knowledge, sound judgments, transparency of data rather than popularity. And this is a big one, educating ourselves every day in the service of the truth. Not the education we think we have achieved in the form of degrees or awards, but learning every day about life, about the world, how we behave and act. Paying attention to our civic duties, our civic virtues, which is a bare minimum in a democracy. Taking care of our health, our environment, the land, and the community we live in for a long-term healthy and sustainable living. and educating our children, younger generation on the same, along with the attitudes of democratic governance, not which party allegiance is better, but instilling the ideas of social participation, civic responsibility, and also how to navigate this clutter of information we are bombarded online on the digital platforms. The attitude of questioning everything we read, consuming views of diverse political spectrums, and understanding these contradictory views without taking offense or judgment. Always being in the service of truth all the time, not in the service of pride, vanity, fame, popularity, in service of a celebrity or a leader, or in service of the images or perceptions they create. These aspects make us regressive as humans and only impede our personal growth and the lives of people we care about. More importantly, keep an eye out on divisive policies in the name of religion, caste, security, especially leaders in governance. It may be the way we have been doing things, but it is not necessary that they should remain that way. They are mere distractions to not act on real issues of poverty, of education, income inequalities, and so on that stare at our face every day. Government's need to assimilate power in a society is real, especially when people cannot hold them accountable in a democracy. And as famously mentioned by Plato, it would lead the masses to support the rule of tyrants. We can all do our bit to protect our individual rights, including the freedom of our thought, religion, lifestyle, or anything that is dear to us, against mass opinion and abuses of government power. Lastly, I'll leave you with this. If you are familiar with this Sanskrit verse from the Upanishads, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Vasudha, which translates as the earth, Eva, which is thus, and Kutumbakam, which is family. The world is one family. Do we feel and act in that manner within our communities, in our country? Interestingly, this verse of Maha Upanishad is engraved in the entrance hall of the Parliament of India. So do our representatives we have voted for as members of the same parliament act and design policies to unify people within the country they govern? Let's ask these questions and see what comes out. And this verse is not mere theory, but to be lived in practice to keep us on the right action or the dharma or the universal law. And we can take this right turn every moment in our day. It is always up to us.